video is my third video in my series about how I am tackling the first draft of my novel. If you would like to see the other two videos, they will be linked in the description box below. This video is going to be all about getting back into writing after a significant break. I have had a break now for 7 weeks. We have recently moved house, which you can see in this video. Things have been put off on the writing front, and when I put my writing off, I don't know if you're like me, the writing then becomes this massive mountain that I have to climb, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger with every day that I don't get back to it, and all of a sudden it seems insurmountable. So today is Friday the 16th of August, and I've decided enough is enough. I'm going to just rip the sticky plaster off and get back onto the writing and the editing, and I'm going to start reading through everything I did a few months ago and refamiliarise myself with the plot, with the characters, and with all the notes that I made on the restructure and the plotting and everything. So that is my intention for today, and I am going to share with you how I get on over the next week. Hopefully, if you're anything like me and you do find it difficult when you've had a break to get back into the writing, this will encourage you or inspire you to rip your own sticky plaster off and just get back on with the writing. This is the sheet of tasks that I have done, and these light pink ones are the ones that relate to my novel Burnt Chocolate. I have just finished Act 2 Part 1 scene planning, and these are the tasks that I am currently working on. So the light pink ones are Act 2 Part 2 scene planning and Act 3 scene planning. So if you know you're going to be having a break for a while and you always struggle to get back into writing, this has been absolutely brilliant for me in terms of helping me know exactly where I am, because in the past I have gone through countless notebooks, I've gone through lots of documents on my laptop, and I have racked my brains because I wouldn't remember exactly where I'd got up to. But by doing this method, I'll just put a little overlay here of the video that you can watch where I talk about this method. This method has been invaluable both in terms of getting tasks done and ticked off and put onto this done sheet, but also in terms of knowing exactly where I got up to when I went on my break, when we went to moved house. I have just finished Act 2, the second half of Act 2, and this is the second half of Act 2. Act 2 Part 2, and as you can see, Act 1 is far more detailed. In fact, let's zoom you in a little bit. So this is Act 1, and as a reminder, I have been using Sarah Cannon's sheets that you can download from her website, and her channel is called Heart Breathings, and I will link that in the description box below. I've been using her sheets to outline my novel. So we've got Act 1, Act 2 first half, and then here we've got Act 2 second half, and then we have got Act 3, and that is outlining the whole of the novel. It's basically in 4 parts: Act 1, Act 2 Part 1, Act 2 Part 2, and Act 3. So in more detail from what I've done on these sheets, I've now done Act 1, I've done Act 2 Part 1, and then I have done Act 2 Part 2. I may well continue to fill this out as I start typing up my next draft. However, what was more important to me as I was doing this was to just think about what was coming next and the whole process from the beginning of Act 2 Part 2 to the end of Act 2 Part 2, and to make sure that all these different sections that Sarah refers to in her video and in her printouts, the reaction to the midpoint, the new plan, the hard choices and the more tests, the push for goal, the second pinch point and moment and the antagonist attacks, and the second doorway of no return. I just want to make sure that I knew that that refers to that, to the plot. And I have written out a few scenes, but I've not done all of them. I've done some key scenes which I thought were important. I am, however, really excited to be typing up this section of my novel. I think it's going to be quite an exciting bit, and I also feel that I do like to plan, but I also like to see how things evolve as I type, so I don't want it to be too detailed. So we'll see how I get on when I come to type that up. I may live to regret those words, but obviously you will see how I do that in a future video. The next thing to do though is to do Act 3. You will have noticed that I did a 20-minute timer on my phone. I actually, when that timer went off, which made me jump out my skin, I actually continued for another 10 minutes or so, and the battery went on my camera and I still continued to write as well. It's a really good tip to do that 20-minute timer if you have taken some time off and you're feeling really daunted about getting back into it. Just setting your timer for 5, 10, 15 or 20 minutes, doesn't matter. Just concentrate on doing what you need to do, and this is everything that I achieved during that 20, 30, 35 minutes maybe. So now I'm going to do the same for Act 3, and then hopefully, if that works, I will have finished outlining in some detail my novel, so I will be ready to start retyping up the next draft. One thing I must show you though, before I go any further, we come back to my sheets. This is, you've seen these before, this is my to-do, and this is my done, and this is my in process. So here it says Act 2, Part 2, Scene Planning. That can now come off the in process and go onto the done sheet, which feels really good. Never underestimate the power of a post-it note. This is what I would like to finish off today. I'm a bit nervous actually, because I think the third section is one I've spent the least amount of time on during the course of writing my previous drafts, and I'm a bit nervous in terms of pulling it all together, but there's nothing for it but just to set my timer and to do it. Okay, enough talking, crack on. Okay, so writing this section here, I've had a bit of a realisation. Just check the timer. I've got 2 minutes 50 seconds left to go. And I still need to fill out a little bit of here, but I've had a bit of a realisation about my current draft and how I've put in lots of different scenes that I haven't even mentioned in any of this outlining. And that's what I did here. I wrote myself a little reminder post-it note. And then I had another realisation as I wrote about the final few scenes down here. So that's come to me as well. So I'm writing myself a little reminder there. And the ending here is not the ending that I thought I was going to have. I thought it was going to be about depression, this novel, but actually I think it's going to be more about the guilt and the kind of push and the pull between a new mum, whether she is just a housewife, and I've put just in air quotes because I don't think there's anything just about being a housewife or a stay-at-home mum. I think that's a really hard job. But that push and pull between doing that and then also being a working mother and the guilt that's felt with doing that. There's a lot to explore there. And there's my timer going off for 20 minutes. A lot of it is to do with the kind of narratives that a mother, and I'm speaking from personal experience, but narratives that a mother will make up in her own head because of the guilt and because of all these different ways she feels pulled in lots of different directions. Anyway, I think that's a really interesting thing to come out of this process, and it's not something that I would have seen if I had not done this outlining process. So that's a big reveal for me, and one that's going to make me think for some time, because the ending was always a little bit vague. I've identified what the issue is now. Before there was no real issue, it was just the fact that my main character had come out of the fog of depression. But now I've seen the light. Oh, it's just, it has blown my mind a little bit. Blown my mind. Okay, so there is just one thing left to do now. I have to take the Act 3 scene planning off my in process sheet, and it goes there very nicely on my done sheet. And that feels great. Once more, it feels really good. So in the next few days I am going to start the rewrite, and I have to say I am a little bit thinking, and I know that wasn't a particularly good sentence, but I'm now wondering whether I should do a chapter by chapter of what happens. I know I've done my scenes, the key scenes, but now do I do chapter by chapter? Because one of the issues I've had in the past when rewriting is that I always rewrite the first few chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then I run out of steam by the time I get to, I don't know, chapter 10. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm really excited about writing Act 2, Part 2, and maybe if I can work out what chapters are going in that scene, maybe I should start with that and then do Part 3 after that. So do the second 2 acts of my novel before I go back to Act 1 and Act 2. So I've got these chapters here, and maybe what I need to do is work out, bear with, so I've just done on this one, smudged it obviously, work out chapters 1 to 10, and then on this one work out chapters 11 to 20. So they are going to go next on my in process card. And you know what? controversial, I don't know. I'm going to work out chapters 11 to 20 first. This is going to be my next task, and then I may, just may, start writing chapters 11. 11, yes. So that is what I'm going to do next. Work out chapters 11 to 20, then start the rewrite with chapter 11. Of course, it may not be exactly chapter 11. I'm just giving it a name or a number, but it will essentially be the chapter that starts the beginning of Act 2, Part 2. And for argument's sake, that is going to be chapter 11. Well, I thought this video was going to be over a longer period of time, but in fact I have got back into it over the course of 2 days. And 2 days, I don't mean I've been writing solidly for 2 days. On day 1 I reread my notes, I reread my outlining sheets, I reread Act 1 and Act 2 Part 1, and then I started adding notes to it, and then I drew out the grid for Act 2 Part 2 on day 2, completed that on day 2, completed Act 3 on day 2, and now I have just planned what I will be doing next. And that is it, that's me. After a 7-year break, I am now well and truly back into the writing process, and it feels good. Thank you very much for watching. I am going to put this away now and go outside and enjoy some fresh air. I will see you for my next video, and my next novel writing video I will then be showing you all about how I am planning out chapters 11 to 20 and maybe even 1 to 10, and how I start rewriting chapter 11. Don't forget to subscribe and you will be the first to hear when I'm doing that. Let me know how you're getting on in the comments below with your novel. I really hope these videos are inspiring you. Bye for now. Bye.